in the zone, 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 podcast, in the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast, in the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast, in the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast, in the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast, 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 in the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast, in the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast, in the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast, in the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast, 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 in the zone, podcast.
Yo, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the In the Zone podcast. This is your boy, Brian Foster. B. Foster's in the building. Hey, it's happy Wednesday. Did you all miss us last week? I know you did. You don't even have to say it. You don't even have to say it. We had to take a week to get some things together and start pre-gaming for somebody's birthday that just passed. Happy birthday, Sean.
Thank you.
Did you have a good
it's
one?
so fabulous being 25.
25. I look forward to getting there. Just around
I
the corner. That's right. It's
had
close.
a really good time. I got to spend it with all my favorite people, singing to me and learning new things about me that apparently they never knew. So it was a good time. I had a good time.
Wow.
Did you have a good time?
Yeah, it was cool.
Oh,
Good time.
that's all I could get. It was a cool.
I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't no strippers. So
You know what? That's why I failed
Hey.
you. My bad. Next time I got you.
you only get so excited.
Cocaine and white girls on deck.
On a yacht.
On a yacht. Well, what's kind of cold in April to be on a yacht?
But don't matter.
We got to go to Miami to do that.
Fine.
Twisted my arm.
All right, I am in. Hey, y'all. So, again, happy to have you back. We've been sitting on this one for a minute, and we are excited about it. I hope some fisticuffs occur.
I'm not even gonna lie, y'all was really scared because we've been trying to do this for like 3 weeks, and everybody was like, "No."
No, but we are going to have a conversation today about religion. Typically, we don't dive into too much religion or politics in here, but it was just Easter, and we were thinking about it, and we figured there are people on multiple sides of the aisle, but in particular, there are folks that think organized religion is a scam. Is particularly Christianity is the white man's religion that was forced down our throats when we came over from Africa, and ain't even a real thing. And then there are those who believe the Bible and Jesus and Christ and all that good stuff is real. Maybe the Bible's a little, manipulated, but for the most part, these are real things and real people that existed, and their faith and how they move in life is rooted and based in that text and that scripture and that belief. So we wanted to have a conversation today about just how folks feel. There's no right or wrong here.
Can I ask you a question before we
You absolutely
actually be
may.
serious? So,
How serious are we gonna be?
Not super serious.
Okay.
So now that you've graduated from being a CME member of church, Brian Foster, how do you keep from bursting into
When you
flames
said
when
CME,
you walk in?
what's that? Sitting
Christmas, Mother's Day, Easter.
on Christmas. You
Yeah.
think I was getting up on Christmas and going to church?
Well, you go every week now. How do you keep from bursting into flames when you walk in?
First of all,
Wow.
me and multiple lords have
Multiple Lords.
I hate multiple lords.
You
have a firm understanding, all right?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I just,
Multiple lords
I was
is
just
kinda
wondering, like,
diabolical.
you in like a special outfit?
Flame retardant.
Yeah.
Hey, leave my friend alone.
No, I will say this. I will
There
say
is
this.
redemption for all.
That's right.
That's what they tell us.
Lord moves in mysterious ways. I will say this. I've never been one. I've always had some faith in there's some higher spirit or power, never assigned to one particular one. I'm not sure that based on things I've seen and experienced in my life, I can say it's all random. It's all blah, 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 blah. But I've never been subscribed to one thing. I've never gone to church or mosque or Buddhist temple or anything like that. But I will give a shout out to Trinity, UCC on 95th. Pastor Reverend Otis Moss. I do go somewhat frequently now. And I'll be honest, it's not even really about the word per se. The way he ties in spirituality with current events, and whoever says I'm bad about me, Clarence, kiss my ass. The way he sprinkles in current events and politics and just how we're moving as a people with some spirituality in there.
Okay.
It's super interesting to me. Okay. So I will give him that because I've been in many a service and many a place over many a year. Most of the time I'm like,
oh, I'm glad he's keeping you awake.
It's an hour and a half. It's some this and that a day. 3 hours. I ain't got to stand up, sit down. I ain't hurting on the altar kneeling and praying. It just works for me in this time.
I'm really proud that the Black churches have graduated from the 4 hour.
Oh no.
That's not a vibe.
That church. I'm not speaking for all of them.
There's several of them. I know people go to a few churches in Chicago, and they all like 90 minutes now. Okay. Well, not all the ones that they have been. I'm sure there's somebody out there that likes a good 4 hours.
That's because our generation is now in control of church, and we don't want to be there all day.
I know that.
We don't have the attention span.
We don't have the.
Wait, who's our generation?
All right, you're older than me.
Yeah, 25.
The millennials got them
together. I was about to say, there's some young folks that got the older folks together. They ain't us. Anyway, want to introduce our guest so we can dive into the topic. As always, one of the In the Zone podcast favorites. She's here about once a month now.
Yeah,
once every 6 weeks. I know they are. We're gonna
chicken.
We're gonna get some. She might not be here for a while. Hey, chicken. My girl Erica, what's happening?
Hey y'all.
She's still trying to figure out how she got on this show.
I am.
She look, because she jumped in the post and said I'll do it, and then
so
forgot. Anyway, and we've been having a lot of these recently, and then there's on Virgin.
We like it.
So we're gonna bust a cherry up in here today.
Mm-hmm.
I love this man. This man's opinionated and speaks his mind and is well spoken. And I don't know why it took us so long to get him on the show. My guy Fred, what's happening?
Well, dude, it's a pleasure to be here, man. And I'm just glad to share with everybody and see what we do. And maybe I'll get invited back. Maybe I'll have some good words to get invited back.
Come on, I think we're gonna do an all-male show next week, and depending on how you do today, you might be
Scrippers
with the scrippers.
I won't be here next week. That's why he's doing the all-male show with scrippers.
There won't be scrippers.
I'm gonna sit over there,
ladies of
that's
the
what
evening.
y'all doing.
Well, it's gonna be an all guys show. I love the all guys show.
And I'm gonna sit over there and observe and be quiet.
Anyway,
yeah.
Sean, kick us off.
All right, let's start with the newbie. What role has organized religion played in your life,
or not played
in your life?
And actually, it's played a very important role in my life. I spent most of my life as a Christian. Like I was in church several times a week. I'm a PK. So like I had extensive views and I was upheld to a higher standard in my community and my family and the church, the whole, the PK kids, they the worst, preacher kids were the worst kids. I did bring some drama to it. I did get kicked out a couple of church conventions. Just
whoa. I feel like that's a whole nother show.
Every last one of them freaks.
How you know? Yeah, it was always something to do with some girls or something like that. Chasing some girls down the hallway or something. But I will always stand on giving religions its prop as far as giving me like some guidelines into life. And I could say I come from a very strong Christian-based family. My grandmother was also a pastor. And when I look at my family tree overall, I think like good people was developed through that. Like those different values that they put in place, kind of gave some guardrails to, to life. And I'll stop right there. I'll maybe wait to the other part to see where the change came.
Okay,
in.
right.
But I do give religion its props. I just think us, especially as you mentioned, as a Black people, I think it's outdated. I think it has ran its course, and I think
Religion in general?
yeah,
Okay.
religion in general. And
All
I
of them?
think someday, yeah,
All of them? Okay.
they're all pretty much based off the same
They're
premise
all
of faith and
Abrahamic
beliefs.
except
Yeah. And
Buddhism.
so in my studies, as I started studying other religions, that's what I started to recognize, is that everybody is saying this, experiencing the same thing, and the common denominator was us as humans. So I then started researching, understanding that this is a human construct, that no matter where you were born, like if you were born in over east somewhere, you would probably be, a Muslim, or wherever, in India. And I just started tying all these things together and started putting some critical thinking and then some research together, and kind of end up where I'm at now.
All right, we're gonna dive into that for sure. Did you see the movie Heretic?
Yes, we watched it the other day. Yep.
It was interesting. Talking about what you're
Yes.
talking about. Yeah. Erica?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
What role has organized religion played in your life?
Same. Born and bred in church. Was
You a
not.
PK kid too?
I was gonna say I was not a pastor's kid, but I I probably was ordained for the first time at like 10 years old. So I have, and then the last time was maybe pre-COVID. So I've held multiple, and it don't matter, but held multiple ordinations in the Christian church. Been in church my whole life, firmly believe in faith. Right now, me and God having some conversations about his church, but I believe in God, I believe in Jesus, and I'm never going to back away from that. However, I think that the church has a lot of work to do.
So you have, because everybody doesn't do this. They parse out, their relationship with God from church. A lot of people make that
my
all
relationship
one.
with God is my relationship with God. Has nothing to do with the building, the church, the body. I believe the body is necessary, but I believe if the body is broken, you don't stay in a broken body, right? If the body is broken, you fix the body, or the body expires, right? So if you're a part, this is probably going into the conversation a little bit, but if you are a part of a body, anybody, like think about your own body. We always, in the church, we always relate the body of Christ to the human body. There's the head, the hands, the feet, but like everybody have their role. But if your body, your human body is broken in any way, it either gets fixed or it dies. And what happens is a lot of bodies, church bodies, refuse to die. So they continue to struggle broken, and that leads to broken people. So I don't have a problem. My relationship with God is solid. I believe that I can worship on any day of the week in my house, and that's still assembling. If it's me, my husband, and my kids, we are assembling. Like people say, don't forsake the assembly of the saints. Well, my kids is the assembly. So I can absolutely separate the church from my relationship with God. They're not interconnected. They're two separate things.
I'm curious, what you say it's broken. You're having a conversation with God about the brokenness of the church. What do you find broken?
A lot of things, but if I could sum it up in a sentence, I think that for many years, we can talk decades, the church taught people to lie to hide their sin, instead of teaching them that your sin is forgiven and you are a flawed human, and no matter how much you work toward perfection, you're not going to get there. So stop beating yourself up, stop condemning yourself, stop making yourself a slave to a system that isn't that is actually, if you read your word, designed to absolve you from the things that humans are keeping you accountable for,
including the church.
I want to follow that. You said something about how the church kind of teach you how to lie. This was a very strong, impactful thing that I started to recognize.
Mhm.
And I'm like, even before we knew about gaslighting or capping,
Yeah.
I used to notice like, why we lie so
Yeah.
much for
Yeah.
this God?
Yep.
I mean, we taught all these, God is good all the time, and he could do everything but fail, but people literally will spell it. It's times that God
Mhm.
wasn't there, all these different things, but
Mhm.
time after time, we just like throw it out there. And I'm like, why do we have to make something like if this God is all of that and all of, why do we have to keep coming up with these excuses to make that be in alignment? And then, like I say, by me being you know, seeing my father's or hearing my father's sermon and even his colleagues, like I know they embellish and do all of
Mhm.
these things. And like people were sitting there
Mhm.
like, I know he's lying, but it's
Yeah.
cool. It's making the story
Yeah.
fun. But it's like it
Yeah.
starts laying this little foundation. Like it's okay to just lie a little
Lie a
bit or
little
hide a
bit.
little bit.
Can
Yeah.
we dig into that? Because
Yes, I feel
I
Sean
guess
chomping at the bit.
no. I want to understand what you guys mean by the system makes you lie. I guess I don't, or maybe if there's something about what you all are saying I'm not
Okay.
picking up on. Like, what are examples
You
of the
you
lies
wanna?
they
Because
encourage us?
I can give one
encourage
too.
So
I'll
doors.
give
one of
one,
the
and I have a
things that
pink one.
like is those different points I was making. I never realized, and I still love gospel music to this
Mhm.
day.
Yeah.
But even in the music, the same way how people talk about or rap music teach them how to be violent or how to be treat black women bad. There's something in the words in the music, like I say, it's just constantly saying. I just came from a funeral today, and I'm very observant as I go to these funerals now, and they're just saying these things that are not really accurate. You know, like oh, we doing this. You holding on to God's hand, like God will never forsake you. But what is that attached to? It's like these are just words and things that we've been mesmerized and get this spiritual high from, but we really never attach it to anything concrete. It's just like we're just regurgitating the same thing.
Platitudes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does make people
It seems
feel
true.
better, I think,
Yeah.
to believe there's something after this, right?
Right. Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
coping. It's a
Yeah.
coping mechanism.
mechanism.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree to a good degree, but when I say that the church teaches people how to lie, I'm okay. So the prime example is homosexuality,
That's what I
right?
was thinking.
Mhm.
Prime example, right? Gay people have been gay people since the beginning of time. That has not changed. Gay people ain't new. They didn't just show up. There was gay people in the church as long as I've been in church. Like my whole entire life, there were gay people in my church, but they weren't allowed to say they were.
Mhm.
They had beards. They had secret lives. So we forced people to lie about who they were to align with the faith that never told them they had to lie about who they were. It's all optics. So
Mhm.
that's what I mean when you force people to lie.
Mm.
Like it that kind, I'm gonna say that brand of Christianity teaches you to hide your flaws instead of accept your flaws, accept your flaws, confess your flaws so that you may confess your sins so that you may be healed, so that redemption can really be redemption, so that redemption can be real, true redemption. You can't get redeemed from something that you won't confess. So that's what I mean when I say
Yeah.
that they make you hide, they make you lie. They make you lie.
I
They
don't
make
even,
you lie to assimilate.
yeah, and I don't even want to. I don't want to conflate or tie together homosexuality with confessing a sin, or
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know, I just want to
Yeah.
make that distinction. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'm
born,
making an example
yeah,
of the church.
Yeah.
What the church
church,
makes
right.
you do.
Yeah,
I mean, just so we're clear, I love our audience members. There are very distinct sins notated in the Bible, and I hate to be the one to break it to you. All the one you're listing are not
one.
in the
Not
list.
near.
Not even close.
Not near one of
Nary
them is in the
them.
list. Now you
Not
can feel
none
how
of
you
them.
want to feel, and that's
Not none of
fair.
them.
But and I'm not even in church anymore. Like I ain't read the Bible in like
None of them.
decades, but I do know nothing you listed is a sin.
It's not.
It's all right, Danny.
absolutely
We
not.
appreciate you. We appreciate you tuning in. Though.
I mean,
Keep them coming.
just saying.
Thank you for your commentary, but that's not right. That's
Yeah.
not true.
But all right, so we've talked about the lies that they have you perpetuate. And my favorite lie, now that you guys brought that up, is a lot of times they talk about how abortion is against the Bible.
Mhm.
And the interesting part is that wasn't true until about the 1920s or the 1930s.
Mhm.
There was actually a philosopher, I want to say, or he was some kind of historian who had a gripe against abortions.
Mhm.
and decided to use the Bible to perpetuate that, and people just bought into it.
Yep.
So that's another interesting little nugget about.
Have
how-
you ever read the scripture about bitter waters?
I'm sure I have, and I don't remember
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah,
been a very long
it's
time.
it's about a man being able, if he think his wife was pregnant by another person,
Exactly.
they take him to the head priest, and in the Bible it literally lists the ingredients of this poison to
Yep.
make her, and if she
Yep.
it was another man, that
Mhm.
is to abort the
They
baby.
would
Yeah.
induce abortion.
So it's like
So.
crazy when they say stuff
Absolutely.
like that, but I know for the most part people don't
Oh,
read the Bible.
Or they don't.
how-
You know,
I
the thing
posted
is,
that
you
today.
have to.
Don't nobody read the Bible.
You have to
Nobody
know.
reads it.
The thing is, not only do you have to read the Bible, but you also have to understand and know history. And to be
Yeah.
fair, we all are very failed in the school system about understanding history and things like that. Damn,
Well,
not like shitty people, but
Oh yeah.
I mean, it
Yeah.
popped up, so now I have
Yeah.
to read it.
No, I was
Yeah.
don't get caught up in that.
Yeah.
I just chuckled because karma and Christianity in the same sentence is quite interesting.
Well,
Go ahead.
Yeah. Also, I think what we forget, a lot of people forget, is all of these texts for the most part are written by men.
Yeah.
That's my other favorite.
Yeah.
So when we say the word of God, God didn't write the Bible.
He did.
So
He's mute.
yeah. So let's.
But do we believe? I think you also have to establish whether or not you believe. But we know it was written by men. We know that. But we have to.
Everybody
decide-
does not know that.
Oh, sorry. Well, I
Some
think
people
you
do
have
think
to
the Bible just showed up on the
decide.
ground and said, "There you go."
I think you have to decide if you believe that it was inspired by the word of God. Like,
Sure.
do you believe it's inspired text?
Are you
Because if
asking
you
us?
don't know, I'm asking just generally, if a person doesn't believe that it's inspired text, then you have absolutely no belief in the foundation of your faith, right? So if you just like, oh, it's all God, it was all man-made, man wrote all of it, it's all made up, then you have no foundation for your faith.
I think that's a question on there, Sean,
Yeah.
about faith.
I
and-
mean, there is how.
So either
how
you
do you
believe it's
separate
the
your faith
foundation or for your
from the
faith.
institution?
yeah, I think that's to what you're saying, Erica, right? Like I think. Sean, I think some people do think the Bible just fell from heaven and God
Yeah.
wrote it, boom.
Yeah.
And other people think
you're
that
right.
we were the vessel and everything they wrote it word for word. There have been different versions. There have been
Mhm.
different. I mean, so
Yeah.
let's.
We won't
You
get into
know.
history of that,
Yeah.
but yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
no.
how do
Yeah,
you?
no.
And how was the question phrase, Sean?
It is, how do you separate the message of your faith from the actions of the flawed institutions?
Mhm.
Eric, I'm curious. That
Oh,
really kicks it at
coming
you.
right to me. Okay.
Well, I mean, because
I can answer that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
You got the faith.
Y'all are funny.
I have
Y'all are
faith.
so funny. How do I separate? Okay, so here's the thing. It's hard if you don't believe that you hear from God. That's what I will say. If you are a person that does not believe that you hear from God, it's very hard to separate what God says versus man says. Okay. And the example I will use is they say, like, to whom much is given, much is required. Well, how do you know what is required of you if you don't hear from God for yourself? Because what God requires of me is not what God requires of you. It's not what God requires of you. It's not what God requires of you. If you're telling me that the measure of my requirement for my faith is based on what God requires of me, you have to trust me that I hear from God for myself. And I can say, God told you that. He didn't tell me that. That's what God told you to do. That's not what God told me to do. I asked him. I prayed about it. He didn't say that to me. He said that to you. So what you're not going to do is make me live by your standard. If the Lord told you, hey, I gotta be in the house by 9 o'clock because ain't nothing outside after 10 o'clock but White Castle and blah, fine. That is what the Lord told you for your life, for your sanctification, for whatever you got going on. That is what the Lord told you. That's not what he told me. And you're not going to make me live by the standard that you say he set for you.
Is it possible, just thinking about it from a pastor, reverend, whatever the Catholic version is, right? That God came through them as a vessel to deliver a message to the whole congregation to hear and to take something from that. That maybe he didn't say to you personally. Is that something you believe is possible?
Say that again.
So what you're saying is, if you don't hear from God yourself, then I don't want to, not that you don't want to hear it, but I didn't hear it from God myself. So I'm only focused on
Mhm.
things that God says directly to me. What I'm asking is
I get
it
what you're saying. I get
possible
what you're saying.
that
Yeah.
the word is actually coming through somebody else
Yes.
to you?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I believe in that, but I also believe that it has to align with my spirit man, right? There has to be an internal check that's like, yep, that makes sense. Even when it's wrong, even when I don't agree with it, even when it's like, ooh, that hurt a little bit, I'm still gonna say, yep, that's God, because it checked my spirit in such a way that I know for certain it was God, right? If you tell me something that's so out of control, off base, somebody told me, God, I'm being very extreme, but somebody told me, well, God said he wanted you to go to be a nun.
Oh,
Nah,
I thought this
you
was going
so
somewhere else.
nope. You so
I
I'm
did too.
trying to keep it, but that's so left field that is a automatic like, yeah, no, he was talking to somebody else. That's not for me, right? So I do believe that God sends messages through His messengers. I do believe that, and I do believe that God will give, even in church, He'll give a corporate word. But even in that, it still has to check with my spirit man, because everything is not for me to consume.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Same question, Fred, for you.
Actually, Fred, I want to pivot.
Okay.
Of course you do. Oh, bastard.
Because Fred has limited time, so I want to get into some of this nitty gritty.
Oh yeah.
Do you think that church, religion, faith is a system of scams, control?
Control 1000%. The scam, I don't think that every church is a scam. There's a multitude. What I will say is that they have learned certain practices and things to move people along. One of the things that really drove me is like, I understand that if you could get somebody to believe in something that's not real, you can get them to believe in anything. Think of how many things we believe, that the Santa Clauses, the tooth fairies and stuff. It opens up a portal in our mind that we then go to another place. I kind of see a lot of religion and how people walk in their faith as a detachment from our reality. Because when you look at everything that we're talking about in religion, none of that is really happening in our reality. It's like I can't. I started, even as I broke down the different things in faith. Is there a God? It's a possibility. What I can say is that one that I see presented, everything that I see in front of me shows man-made. Because then I see the same blueprint in every other belief and faith.
I'm sorry. Can I ask, do you believe in a higher faith at all, or no?
I don't see any evidence of it.
Okay.
Could it be? I'm not opposed to it because I don't know. When I got to a point, I stopped feeling the need to pretend. Because as I was about to become, going to ministry, I'm like, I had all of these questions and never, although I'm this close to all of these pastors and bishops, nobody gave me relevant answers.
Okay.
It was like, dig deeper in, or go deeper in faith and just pray more enlightenment, but nobody. So I'm like, man, why can't nobody have these uncomfortable conversations? Because I just started to look in the simple form. I tried to simplify God. Like, as far as people would be like, oh, it's just this big mystical lives outside of time. Like all these just things that people say. I'm like, something that lives outside of time is not part of this world right now. So why are we even having this conversation? But it's like, I really wanted to see, how does this affect us in real time? And even when you were just talking about in the prayer concept, or what I was thinking when I started trying to apply the God into the real time, I realized all I've been doing these years is assigning stuff. Like whatever happened, oh, God did that. Or not just saying, like, we sign stuff to the gods after the fact. But if you take any God, Allah, whatever, and put it right in front of, like, in your serious and praying and be worthy and believing in it, typically it don't show up like that. When you like actually really saying, hey, give me a sign. I cried out many nights. God, talk to me. If you real, like, let's do this. Pray with my pastor. And it was silence on that. So like, I really really into, like say it was my journey walking away with religion was my zest for actually being serious about it. I didn't want to play the game everybody's playing. I'm like, I need to know I'm going to be leading people to something. I don't want to just waste people's time. Like, let me see. So I say, God should be this, that. Then I'll start reading the book, and every time I'm seeing it don't match up, I'm saying, but something not. This is not an all-loving act.
I really would love to have this deeper on another day.
Yeah.
But can I ask one more question?
Sure.
I'm sorry.
You done already butted in now.
I'm sorry.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Have you explored the thought or the idea that all gods are one God?
Oh,
There's
so in other
one
words, God is using these different vessels to bring everybody
to him.
Yeah. Yes, but when you look at the different like how the different that doesn't make cognitive sense to me, that you have all these different rules, and then because now this is just a
but I think you also have to consider where man and where man inserted themselves into God's plan. Any of God's plans, once they reach, okay, if God tell me to come over there and God tell me come give you a hug. If on my way to give you a hug, I stop and pick up that water bottle, I deviated from God's plan, because God didn't tell me stop, pick up the water bottle, then go talk to him. He told me go talk to you first. So if I stop, I deviated God's plan. So I think that we have to also consider where man has inserted themselves into God's plan and causes those things that you see as,
which one?
I can't remember the words you use, but the thing that makes it, I guess, not aligned.
But when you look, we have to study our wording. When you say God's plan, if it was his plan, it would go through. If it's a God,
we have free will.
No, but if it's the God's plan, is our will stronger than the God?
We have free will. He gave us free will.
No,
Just because he told us to do something don't mean we have to do it. And it doesn't mean we have to do it the way he told us to do it. He gave us free will. He asked us to do things. He tells us we can do what he had told us to do, or we can do something different. He's not controlling us. We are not puppets.
So you don't believe God has a plan?
I believe God has a plan, and I believe God has a plan that we don't always follow.
I'm curious.
Then he got to bring us back.
Yeah, I'm curious. And I want Sean to jump in with a question she was about to ask. But what I'm hearing from the two of you is something so divergently different. Fred said he's called out and not heard a thing. And that you've had 3 glasses of wine and you and God
we be kicking
it. Having popping fans together.
Man.
So is this the question then is this a question of faith or delusion?
Tell me more about the delusion part.
Because it could be that Fred had his face shaking and that's why he's not hearing anything. Or it could be that Erica's deluding herself into thinking she's talking to God. I'm not saying you are. I'm saying that's the question I'm asking.
Yeah, no. So I don't know how to answer that. If you want me to answer, if you're looking for me to answer that, I don't know how to answer it.
I was kind of tossing it out there.
I don't think it's delusion at all. I think it's how would I explain it? I think that you don't hear. I'm sorry, this is not towards you personally. It's not personal, but I think you don't hear God when you don't want to hear God. I think that when you are, I'm trying to find a way to explain it. Okay, so you know how this is very abstract, but you know how your mama make you mad, and when you're a kid and you're upstairs in your room and you hear her calling you and you just sit there and go, I don't hear her. I ain't answering her. I don't hear her. I don't want to hear her.
Yeah.
I didn't have that type of mama, so.
And to the point where this is an
example. She kicking the door in on you.
And to the point where you drowning it out.
I hear what you're saying.
Because you're so mad at her, you don't want to hear nothing she got to say. So you tune it out. I think that a lot of people do that.
Interesting.
I think a lot of people, I'm not saying you personally, I'm saying a lot of people are so angry with God that they stop hearing his voice because they no longer trust his voice.
Faith shaking.
That's a real thing. And it's like a flip side of that. People hear God when they want to hear from a God. Like you touched on a point where you saying
Yeah.
other people saying God told me to tell you this. You can distinctly
like,
say He
"Child,
ain't told
bye.
me that.
He
You
ain't told
like
me
you
you
could
nothing."
clearly see
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
person ain't hearing from a God.
Yeah.
But it's very hard for us to see inside ourselves. And I spend a lot of time studying. I'm like, man, this voice I'm hearing that I've been calling God for all these years is my same voice that I hear about everything else. Like I started like really
So interesting.
realizing there was no distinction in the voice. And like I say, I was just kept jumping and saying, oh, this is what God is telling me. Are you doing that?
So
Go ahead.
so did it ever tell you anything contrary to what you wanted to hear? Did the
Yeah,
voice
yeah.
that you were
Yeah,
attributing to your
I mean,
God
I
ever tell you
definitely
anything contrary
the
to
mind
what
is
you wanted
doing
to
what the
hear?
mind does. It
Okay.
has the both sides. The
Uh-huh.
we do have
Uh-huh.
that angel and what we
Yep.
call the angel.
Angel.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
like when I started doing neurological study of the brain and things
Mhm.
like that, you just started seeing, oh, that's how the brain works. Like it goes, we carry through these things. And I think in the early times, we were talking before you
Yep.
guys
I was
came in
gonna ask you
in
to
the
talk about
in
that.
the early times, I believe it was something as once man kind of got through the whole just trying to survive things and they started having quieter moments, they started hearing what we know is just like our inner thoughts. But just imagine back then, they like, what the fuck is that? Like, who's talking to me? And then they just started assigning that must be the same guy that's doing the thundering and doing this. And we just kind of layer all of these things together. And like I say, with the problem, the challenge with the religion, and I mean, especially when you get into like the JWs and stuff, that they keep you so focused to getting your knowledge and like out of the pages of this. It's not until you open up and see the world as a whole thing. It's just from simplest term. I put my Bible down for 2 years and like I just had to clear my brain. And when I started getting all this other knowledge and research and picked the Bible back up like it's just a book I found, on the shelf, it was like once you see it, you can't like every page. It took me a year and a half to go through the book of Genesis. I could see things just pop off the page, like the very first page, like God created the firmament. Like we know today that the earth don't have firmament, but back then that's what they thought the world had a. But guess who would know that? A God would know that. That inspired them to say that. So you just start breaking each little thing down. Like a God would know all of these errors that they're making. This was just man's first attempt to try to tell the story of what they were observing and what they were experiencing. I don't think that the writers or the authors of that were really thinking thousand years and now we will be like this was like the children of Israel kind of giving their own little flex for what they got going.
Absolutely.
And we done took this thing and it's a whole movement.
I would also have a small challenge to that. Not a big challenge, just a small challenge, right? Because I think we all know we read the King James version, right? And I don't know if you've read any previous versions before that. Before I say what I say, have you?
Yes.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure you weren't basing that on the King James version. Just real quick note: King James version is not the actual real Bible. It's based on King James thoughts on what religion should be. So just throw that.
Yeah, that was a higher. There's tools out there. If people want to get, there's a tool out there called the blue book, the blue note. Like so, you get the Hebrew words right next to it, and that's very helpful, and you really understand and seeing what the original word was. Because once you get down to the King James stuff, this stuff been remixed like so many times.
Yeah. All right.
70 million, 30.
Let me get like a hot take question. Y'all ready? Y'all ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it a cult? And if it's not a cult, what makes it different from a cult?
Some.
Okay, you already kicked it off, go.
No, you said I said
is it
some.
you don't think it's
some
a cult?
are cults? Some
well,
are
what
not.
makes some cults versus some not being cults?
When they start to, I think that when anybody of Christ tries to exalt man and man's opinions above that of the word of God that house aspires, that house is supposed to take as faith or as law for that particular body, then you've moved into that cult territory. People have been using religion as a way to control people for as long as we've been alive. That's not new. But I think that there's a certain there's a certain shift in the way that a cult looks at its leader that's different than a traditional church body. If what church you go to?
Trinity, Pastor Moss.
Pastor Moss told you to divorce your wife
Mm-hmm.
and move to Idaho
Mm-hmm.
to join the reserve,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say to him?
How many more wives I get?
I asked the wrong
That's the most
person.
How old are they? You gotta ask how old they are too. Don't just ask the number, ask how old they are.
Okay.
But then
No, you need to ask their
then you,
age.
my friend, would be joining a cult.
I might be.
And I think that's the difference when man starts to control people's actual. Again, I go back to free will. When man starts to control the actions of their body of believers as a way to exalt themselves or justify their wants, desires, whatever, above the needs of whatever that book of faith is for that body, I think that's when you spill into the cult realm.
Joel Osteen.
He culty too.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I put him up as an example.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought. Well, then all of them. Joel Osteen. What's the TDJ?
Wait,
You're
hold on.
not gonna have me
Hannah,
on
like
here.
all
You're
them.
not
Hey,
gonna
Jake,
have
put
me on here
put Jamal's
saying
last
that.
comment up. That's hilarious, by the way.
You ain't gonna have me on there.
Somebody
Yeah.
drink the blood.
I look at it.
That
in
is
this-
a euphemism. That is not literal.
Hey, Jamal, I might tag you in about 15
That
minutes.
is
Get ready.
not literal.
Oh my God! You
It
bring
is
Jamal
not
in?
meant to
Oh
be
my God.
literal.
Well, he knows that, don't
I know, but you know how many people don't.
Yeah, facts.
You know
How
how
do they
many
not know?
people
It's
don't.
obviously a cracker.
Yeah,
It's
It's,
wine.
it's so
Yeah,
many
yeah,
people
grape
that
juice.
don't.
Fred,
It's so
Coke-
many people that
Uh,
don't. It's so many people
I don't think people who get into ministry necessarily go in it with any cult intentions. Maybe there are some that just are opportunists that do, the Jim Jones of the world, but the whole structure of the Christian faith, or just even how Jesus, Yeshua, how you want to say it, how he constructed how to be a follower it's like cult 101. It's like, hey, you are lesser than, like, so we're taught that we're born unworthy out the get-go. Why we got to suffer for what Eve did, I don't have no clue. But right out the gate, God has put a curse on us, so we're in a deficit out the gate.
We coming in.
We
don't
we
think
in the red.
that's true.
I'm just saying
Well,
I'm just saying that's what the story says.
I'm not finished, but I don't believe that you keep going.
Yeah, that's just what the story
No,
says.
I'm saying, I'm saying.
So
keep
yeah,
going,
I
but
don't believe
think
this.
that's true.
I don't. Yeah, but so then you have, like, you know, as Jesus saying, hey, look, you want to be down with me, you got to hate your mama, your daddy, your brother. And so, I'm just that's just the scripture. That's not my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. That's not okay. Go.
You think it's a
Go
different
keep
interpretation?
saying what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to shut up. I don't believe none of
Good luck
that.
with that.
That
So,
is
no more opportunity to come
not
in. Let her,
okay, let me be quiet. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go.
He's saying you got to drop everything you do and make me your entire life.
You saying
Like,
God said that or the pastor said that?
This is Jesus
Okay,
saying
I'm
this.
just
This-
making
yeah,
sure
I'm
I'm
just
following.
in the word right now. Like,
Mhm.
basically, like, your life has to be set up not only to worship when you hear, but then after you die, we got eternity for you to still do the same thing every day. Get up and sing that song. You got to worship us for eternity. I don't think I want to do anything for eternity. And heaven might be sound good for some other people, but yeah, the whole layout of bring your money, bring your time, follow me. Like, that's the 101 thing that these these leaders get a hold of that. And people, they see the need of people wanting hope. Like, people are chasing religion because they want hope. This, like, most of the people that Jesus, like, put in his circle were like people who they wasn't like the most intelligent people in the villages and stuff. He was going with the people who were, like, struggling, who was looking to get ahead over. He offered that to them. If he was a real, I believe he was a real figure. I don't think he was divine. But basically, he took the teachings and stuff, the things that kind of been around for a while, but they took it. And once Constantine and them got a hold of it, they just put their whole little thing of how they want to formulate it this to be, where they literally hijack another religion to kind of put that all together and come up with a new.
So you're actually Jewish.
Yeah. You
That's
would think Jesus. I don't know why he's not
that's-
Jew. How it's a whole nother.
That's the
Christian.
basis. That's well, not the basis,
Are they
but that's
Christian?
one of the beliefs of Judaism, that he was kind of just, he was there and kind of hanging out.
Yeah.
I completely disagree.
Look,
And
I
we're
was
gonna
there.
have to have this conversation. We're gonna have to have this conversation offline.
Well, I
because
will say-
yes,
completely
please.
One piece of
disagree.
what he said, the Bible does say that you come into this life as a sinner, you must be washed in the blood of the Lamb to get rid of your sins that you got upon arrival. So it does. I mean, he was. I don't know about the other parts, but that part he is spot on with. That's just
Fucking
true.
true.
Well, we're gonna let y'all go because I know y'all have
I know
like.
y'all got somewhere to move.
Yeah.
But thank you for coming,
Beautiful
friend.
lady taking me out on a date.
Oh, come on now.
Come on now. You better thank Jesus.
Hey.
Won't he do it?
Yes, he will.
So
Yes,
I
he
really
will.
appreciate all of you, Erica.
Mhm.
We definitely can stay.
Yes.
Do we follow each other on social
I'm
media?
not sure.
Well, we'll make sure
Well,
we
I'm about to
connect.
now.
Yes. No, I am open conversation.
Yeah.
I have my journey. I'm never locked into anything. I just kind of go with things and just learn and just share with people, share this journey and my experience
Mhm.
with that. And I just think I'm more of a humanism now. I think everything that we try to accomplish in religion, we actually can do. All of it is already being done without a person. There's like nothing that somebody who's serving any God can do that people that are not doing. And then that religion just kind of brings in a whole bunch of complications and things to do it that actually divides more than bring a bridge to everyone. Yeah. So that's my closing words.
Appreciate
Take
you
care,
jumping
man.
in, brother.
Thank
Yes,
you.
You guys have fun tonight.
You guys have a blast.
Yes.
Jacob
That
grabbed
is
that.
so interesting.
That's so interesting.
Later, y'all.
All right. I guess we gotta start giving our opinions now.
Yep, I'm done.
You ain't done.
Is it a cult,
Never get
B-Falls?
done. Is it a cult?
Because we missed all the first couple of questions. Is it a cult?
Cult. It has cult-like qualities.
When we say cult, what do we mean by cult? Are we talking about like
It
the
has
one in Texas
cult-like
where
qualities.
people?
You're Greek.
So does that. You don't give me look. So does that. How about that?
When we say cult, what are we saying?
So
Right? Because I assume we're not talking about dude that was down in Texas that
I'm
had
not talking
people
about everybody
drinking-
No,
had
we're
drink
not talking
Kool-Aid
about
to die and
Waco.
all
We're
that
talking about
necessarily.
Waco.
I mean, that was a cult. I'm just
No,
gonna
that
put
was
some-
absolutely. But
put
that was
some
I think there
guardrails
are
on
some. Yeah, I think that was an extreme example.
And Marvin
Uh,
called this. Man, he didn't say lock the doors. Let me get out the comments. Go ahead.
No. Yeah, please. I think Erica kind of hit on it earlier, though. I think when somebody places themselves above other folks and whatever they're teaching, striving for, whatever, really is more self-purposeful
Yep.
than it is about the betterment of not only the congregation but the good of humanity.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about a cult.
Yep.
Okay, I can probably.
Yep.
Well,
Leaders,
that would.
leaders of cults are self-serving.
Then
They
I
serve
would-
themselves.
Don't you do it.
I would say if that's your
I already know
guardrail,
where she's going.
then damn near every religion on this planet.
Oh, that's not
And
where I thought she was
church.
going.
I
And
don't
church are
think
cults.
so.
And politics.
I don't think
And
so.
politics are
A
cults.
lot of things.
I mean, if you're
I
saying
don't
that,
think, well, politics and religion are different. I don't think I
So-
separate them. I think they're very
Absolutely.
separate.
What I'm saying
But
though is I think there are.
I don't think
I think in
politics is a
any-
cult. Well, I think I think there are political
Yeah.
cults. Let me be quiet.
Yeah, I think that
yeah.
in any way, in any walk of life, it doesn't have to be religious or anything like that. But in
Mhm.
any walk of life where somebody gathers a community of people
Mm-hmm.
to the betterment of them, of himself or themselves,
That's it.
gangs.
Yep.
I mean, we could go
Yeah.
down a spiral, but
I mean, and also I think what we're saying is there is an underlying agenda, right? There's an underlying
Mhm.
personal agenda, and I think you would be hard pressed to find. And this is no shade to any church. I love the church folk, but you would be hard pressed to find a church that does not have an underlying agenda.
I
There.
don't think so. I don't think that's true. I think it's.
Well,
I
I
think
mean,
that it's. I think it's more. I think that it's less. Oh, I can't. Am I saying more or less? I think that it is less common that you'll find a church that's a cult then you will find a church that is truly about the body. I think that the culty churches, or the churches where people, I'm not going to say that, the churches where people say that they are culty, I think those are the ones that get the most attention. But there are millions of churches that are really serving the people who are part of their body. Like if it's a church of 10 people, it ain't a cult. Them people just in there worshiping.
I mean, they could be a cult
So
too. They got started somewhere.
you're right, but I don't think that that's it most of the
I know
time.
what you got.
I know what
You
you're
know
saying.
what I'm saying? Like
Obviously, there's nothing is 100%.
right. So what I'm saying is I think that there are more churches that are really trying to bring people to Christ, that are following the remit of their faith, which is to bring people to Christ for redemption, and everybody else. And then you have those people who get caught up in themselves and they want to have the biggest church with the brightest lights and the most people, and now they find themselves veering off into some self-serving agenda that maybe they didn't initially start with, but somehow they found themselves caught up in. I don't think every cult leader started by being a cult leader. I think some of them started with genuine intention, and they got swayed by the attention. They got swayed by the deficits that existed within them already, right? If you were a lame in high school and now you was a preacher, and now you got all these people that love you, you are more than likely going to have yourself a little cult, because now all these people love you, and ain't nobody never loves you like this. So now you got a whole high school. You know, made yourself high school. So I think that
how do we get around that, Ben?
Listen,
dots.
I'm gonna bring it back.
Them dots was just
I'm just talking about the way a person is dysfunctional inside, and how they,
I got you.
when they get the attention that they never had, they create what they always wanted.
So they created space so they can continue to get the attention that
they can get the thing that they never got.
But even I think agenda is such a loaded word that sometimes we forget that. Even what you were saying earlier, Eric, about some people are really just trying to worship the word and find themselves in Christ and all that. That's an agenda.
Yeah. Well, there are positive agendas and there are negative agendas.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want agenda to be such a loaded terminology.
Yeah, because I used to ask people all the time I use people. Okay, now a sidebar. But motive is another word that gets that thing. Like, you can have a good motive, but what's your motive?
Yeah, absolutely.
What's a good motive to be in church?
What's a good motive to be in church?
What's a good motive?
I think
community.
I think there's community. I think people find it fills them in their spirit in some way that's positive. It really energizes folks to have a lot of times the best week that they can have, right? Like I think if you find value in, even if the word doesn't necessarily, God's not talking to you like he in Erica's ear. Just sometimes
they chat every day. I mean, go have drinks.
They tight,
child.
But
he's talking right now.
Yeah, but sometimes I think people just, to E's point, the community, the history, and let's not forget and I don't want to stick straight to Christianity, but the important part that church played in a lot of the movements that we benefit from today.
Yeah. Yep.
Like the civil rights movement was sparked by the church.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's positivity that comes in, like, hell, I'm part of the yoga ministry at church. I don't never go to yoga.
You're part of the what?
You got to join the ministry, so I joined yoga.
You're part of the
You're
what?
Crazy. You are.
You
insane.
couldn't join the Alpha.
You don't even do
ministry.
Yoga.
There's no Alpha ministry.
Make one Alpha. What the hell?
When you become,
and I know them people probably thought yoga ministry was the most blasphemous thing they ever heard.
At one point,
I'm sure they were like, "What are you doing? Talking about a yoga ministry?"
So that leads me to a question that is not on the list. But
should we bring Jamal in?
No, I feel like
Jamal, are you in? Jamal, you want to be in?
Don't get on here trolling. I don't have time today.
You know what? Jamal does not troll on
verbally.
Okay, then get on.
He pontificates the shit out of something, but he will.
Jamal,
not
if you want to say yes in the comments,
ain't no, because I ain't got time for the trolling today. We talking about Jesus.
So what's always been curious, what's always been puzzling to me about religion, right, is that you just, like, somebody was talking about how some homosexuality and the like are all sins, right? But what I also think about when I see those things is how the Bible was used for slavery, to justify slavery.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The Bible was also justified for women not wearing pants. The Bible was used to justify why women shouldn't work, right? Why Black people should be held to a lower class. Like, I'm always curious why people, knowing this, never connect the dots to religion, right? There are
What
people
do you
who
mean?
Yeah, what do you mean?
people buy into these ideas, right?
Mhm.
They go and sit in front of a pastor who has an agenda to make you believe that abortion is wrong.
Sure.
Even though in the background, they know this same Bible that they're sitting in front of 50 years ago was used to keep them poor.
Okay.
Why would they ever ask themselves a question like, if it was used to keep me in slavery
Mhm.
200 years ago, how do I know it's not being used right now to make me dislike a sector of people? I'm always curious why nobody ever delves in. Now, it could be because it feels good in the moment and they just want to be in the good. I just want to examine this idea. I mean, I have my theories on why.
Well, what are your theories?
I think, and what I'm about to say is going to be mean. I'm sorry, y'all.
It's,
I think
it's gonna be
people
right.
have deep bigotry,
Mhm.
and even then, right? People have deep bigotry, and they use the Bible as a way to reinforce their own bigotry.
You say that's me? I think that's
That
accurate.
is me. 'cause I'm saying
That's incredibly accurate.
That's accurate.
That's accurate.
And
That's very
I
accurate.
think, and I also think people are assholes, and I just think about the evangelicals, right? And I'm not gonna make
Wait
this
before you go
political.
there. Before you go there, because I have I think that we give, and we can talk about them, evangelicals opinions, but I think that beyond them, we forget that the majority of this country can't read.
Oh, okay. I'm curious. Let's
If you can't read, you can't read the Bible.
and then all your
So
data coming from
everything that you understand about the book that is the faith that you ascribe to, whether it's the Bible or the Quran, whatever it is, everything that you ascribe to for your faith comes through the mouth of another person
No, that's a fair push.
because
That's
you
fair.
can't read.
That's fair.
And when you read it, you don't understand it.
That's fair.
The average American reads at a 3rd grade level.
And you at least need to be at a 9th grade
9.
level to read a Bible, because
Most people can't read past 9.
That's fair.
That's fair.
I also think, and now I'm gonna do a shine on me. I think that a lot of people believe what they want to believe, what they need to believe to make them feel better about themselves at the expense of other people.
I
If I
agree.
can
That's the
point-
American way.
If I can point to
I
somebody else and be
agree.
like, at least I ain't got as bad as them.
I agree.
I feel better about me no matter how bad I got it, right? And I think that's 45, 47. A lot of people voted for him and stand behind him no matter what goofy shit he says, does,
That's it.
pussies he grabs, laws he breaks, things he's committed to.
Making your avocados cost $30.
Whatever the case may be. They are all behind him because they don't fuck liberals.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So as long as he's fuck liberals, don't matter.
Don't matter. Even if it's to my own demise.
Even if it's to my own detriment. Absolutely.
I can't wait till
They
these
out
teachers
here
cost
killing
$8,000.
themselves because of their bigotry.
Yep. And I think
They
a
are
lot of that
bigoting themselves into the
goes-
poorhouse.
Politics, church. Yeah.
That goes to the evangelicals. I brought it back for you.
Thank you. But yeah, I always find that to be a curious one, like to know. And I guess to your point, right? And I said this earlier, we don't know our history, and a lot of people can't read. So if your information is coming from a single source and you trust that single source,
And you got you because you
i.e. Facebook, then
Right. You don't know your history
I'm
because
just
you can't
saying.
read.
I'm just saying.
I think I might be a cult leader.
You are the leader of the In the Zone cult.
You don't know your history because you can't read. That's why they telling them no, stop teaching the stuff. Y'all can't
Facts.
read it no way.
Facts.
Fair.
Facts.
Fair.
Just take it all out to schools. What they need, they don't need to know that.
They just need to know George Washington chopped down that cherry tree.
That's it. And Adam and Eve,
I have the money in the books.
and that's it.
Oh my God. All right, where we gonna go next? So, go for it.
Erica, you think if religion disappeared tomorrow,
Oh,
was wiped off the face of the earth,
organized religion.
organized religion,
Okay.
we better or worse?
When you say when you say organized religion disappears, all our memories of it disappear, or does just all the churches and the Bibles disappear? I just wanna be very
All
clear.
faiths.
All faiths.
All
All the
faiths.
churches, all the temples, all the mosques, all that. Nobody can preach. It's just you on your own and your faith any way you
But
want to.
we still remember all the teachings.
You can
right?
remember it if you
Oh,
want
okay.
to.
You can remember everything we want to remember, but we just can't teach no more.
Yeah. But all the
All the
organization of it's
organizations
done.
are gone. Better or worse? I think depends. I think for those who never knew a faith, okay, I like to approach these questions as one or the other. You can't make up nothing in the middle. So, better or worse? Generally, all society.
This hurt. Well, why does this hurt so much? I don't.
Better.
Go say it. That's why it hurts so much.
Better.
Whoa!
Better.
I did not think that was coming.
Better.
It's not what
Better.
I thought was coming.
I think better because with the absence of organized religion, people would have to find God for themselves. They would have to find the higher power that gives them what they need on their own. And like I said, like I've been Christian my whole life. I have taken a break from church, but not from God. But even in that, like I kind of was doing the same thing. What's his name? Fred. Same thing he was doing, like exploring, like what do they say? And what do they say? And I've always been a curious person, a curious child. I've looked at other religions since I was a kid, but like I think that the people don't like this, but the tenets of all of them are the same. But so I think that it would make people grasp onto a concept of a faith that they felt most comfortable with and not whatever their mom and them told them they're supposed to be.
Sean?
Okay, I'm gonna pick secret option C. Wait, what were the options
There
again?
ain't no secret.
What was the options?
Better or worse? Are we better or worse?
I don't think it would change.
You don't think there'd be no discernible change?
As long as we remember, as long as we have all of those memories, I think of it like racism, right? And I know this is everybody's like racism. Yes, you can't unless you extrapolate, unless you take out all of that thinking, all of those thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
If they're still there, then what the fuck changes? You still believe that. You still believe everything you believe. You just don't have a place to go to do it.
That's like,
and you would have,
yeah.
would do. So my grandmother, I'll say it like this. My introduction to faith was my grandmother and her best friend sitting in their living room for the first 14 years of my life, having prayer for 3 hours.
Yes.
Right. So I would be in the house. I would hear hallelujah and having people see Holy Ghost for 3 hours every day of my 14 years. So they didn't need a church. They ain't need a pastor. They needed the Bible and they belief to have service every single day. Yep. So I share that to say that as long as it's in you, nothing's going to change. You will just find different ways to execute it.
To piggyback on that, so we stopped going to church during COVID and didn't go back. It didn't change my faith. It changed nothing except I would sleep on Sundays. Like,
that's the better part. That's what it's better.
And I'm not advocating for it at all. But what happened was my kids was like, "Are we going back to church?" I'm like, "No, I'll drop you off." Right?
You them poor children from church.
I'll drop you off. Y'all don't want to go, but
Sydney, y'all call me. I'll take y'all.
That's crazy. Can I just address that last comment seriously? What? As somebody who has done the 14 years in my house and has sat in church, there is a distinction between what my grandmother did and sitting through service. They are not the same.
Well, your grandma was having prayer service. They was praying down, having preaching the word. They
also read the word.
That's what I'm saying. They was having what today's church calls a life group. They were
what? You go to church. What you mean? You don't know what that is?
I said a life group.
Oh, yeah, your grandma was doing a life group.
Back in the 70s.
I've been going to church for 2 weeks. Don't be trying to act like I knew everything now. I'm just saying.
They was doing life group.
That wasn't church. It was completely different.
But I think, dare I say, I think that life groups are the closest to what the original church was. what the current modern church calls a life group. I think that's what it was. It was groups of believers coming together to read the Bible, pray together, talk about the things that they needed help with from a spiritual aspect, and creating this community. I think that is what church was in the early days of the church, and now we have made it this massive revenue generating thing for
capitalism. Put your phone down
because-
because the question coming to you next.
I'm
so
ready.
yeah, I agree. I okay, Brian. What? Okay,
My
so-
church sent to be a message now about us being on Win City Live.
Oh
So don't
my
you-
God.
Anyway,
Trinity. I mean,
It's Trinity. I think. Never mind. Go
nothing
ahead.
would change.
I think Trinity's a great place.
so I'm going the other way.
He's worse.
No, I think it's worse.
Because she
You
said
think so?
better.
Right.
I said nothing
Nothing
changes.
changes. I'm going the
Are you
third
Why
just
way.
you
being
say
devil
worse?
advocate?
Devil. No, because I think everything you all are saying is also true. This isn't it's just the world gonna go up in flames. I think everything you're saying is accurate as well, but I think that a couple of things. I think one, church, as I said earlier, like helped movements move be it good or bad, issues along down the pipeline or whatever. And really at the heart of it, I believe it's about supporting and loving and propping up the community. And be that the community around the church, our communities, like people, however you want to phraseology that. So you remove that structure and that system, and I'm just thinking about all the things that the church, that Trinity does to support the community, all the food banks and the scholarships and the this and the that. If all that goes away, if Trinity goes away, that goes away. So I think a lot of churches are rooted in support of the community. One, two, I think that a lot. Not saying that some people, it's definitely some heathens and sinners in church that smell like Hennessy on Saturday and come into church smelling just like it. But
He said, "Come as you are."
come as you are. But I think church
didn't say that.
does help check a
Well,
lot
some
of
pastor said it, and it's been catching on.
it does
didn't
check
say
the
that.
baser instincts of certain folks. And without that vessel to go to every week to kind of reset and refill that cup and like, ooh, I can, good Lord, I can don't make me start stripping again, Lord. Let me go to church and get it out of my system.
Ooh.
Not to shame sex workers.
Okay,
Say God did not say sex
so
work was a
here's-
sin.
Yeah, so
So
I think it helps fill people up into a point where they can be better people during the week. I think a lot of people get checked in church that otherwise will go completely off the motherfucking rails.
You think so?
I know so.
I
I
mean, okay.
I know
so
some people.
I know.
They, they didn't go to church
I
on
think
Sunday.
that
They would
I
just
think
be
that
a
no,
mess.
I think there's some truth to that. But I think that first of all, you said that the church is like the movements that are started by churches and the supports that churches give to the communities. I would venture to ask, where are they now?
Same word. Oh, I see. I was about to be ignorant.
What
My bad.
where they at? Where they at? Where
Hold
they
on.
at?
Yeah, hold on, I got a question.
Because democracy is being attacked.
Billy,
where they
right?
at?
That's why I said when I said social change, or when I said change, that's why I said some changes, some churches good, some
And-
churches bad, because some non-black churches push some terrible agendas.
That's my second thing is where they at now.
They,
Because
they're
we got 95,050 churches in the
Hey, who
democracy is
who just
being
filibustered
attacked.
for
That
2
ain't a
days?
church.
That's the
That wasn't
leader,
a church. That was a
that-
person.
a leader of a church.
But
that
what
happened to
hap-
be a
then
senator.
what happened at one? Then what happened and then what happened next?
Then what do you mean?
What happened next? What we doing?
Nothing.
What we not marching? We not doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? At least back then they had they boycotted things.
You think these boycotts and actions just happened in 2 months?
But you
No, these things take time to build and process and
okay,
plan.
Well,
The man
they
been in
done had
office. The
8
man been in
years.
office for 3 months.
That man was been in office since
And
4
they
years
knew
ago.
his
Whenever he
ass was coming. We
they
knew
knew
him
he
was
was
coming
coming.
November 6th.
They knew he was coming. They
No,
knew
we-
Project
we
2025 was a
we
thing.
knew
They knew everything.
we knew she
No,
was gonna win.
no,
No, we
y'all
did not.
didn't. Nobody knew that.
November
Okay,
7th,
number
we knew
two.
that he was coming.
Correct.
Yeah, that was
So
5 months
number
ago.
two, number
That's
two,
5 months of
number
planning.
two, number two. You talked about the supports, the social services, and the supports that the churches provide the community. Dare I say, if that is in your heart to do for the community, why do you need an organized place to do it? Just do it.
Here's my here's my
Just do
counter.
it.
Here's my counter.
I'm probably going to agree.
I
with
do
you.
this, I move. We do this, we move a lot more.
So I can get, but
That's
I
the
can
same
get,
thing
I
people
can
say
go
about-
get 7 of my friends.
You could. Can you get 700?
Yeah, you could.
No.
You could. You
I
do
could.
it every year for the toy drive.
And I don't get 700 people. What
You
I'm saying,
could.
but what I'm
They
saying
show up
is,
to his party,
what I'm
700
saying-
people at his birthday party.
I'm
could. is
people
my
say the same
point.
thing about Greek-led organization, right? You could do which service, but you could. But when there's 100 of us and when there's 5 of us, is a big difference.
Okay, so get 7 people. Everybody got 100 people, and you get the
But
same
that ain't,
impact.
it ain't gonna happen
Same
because
impact.
people
That's
ain't
not
because
true.
people
That's
aren't
not
as
true.
people. You'd be surprised
I
how
don't
lazy
think
they
that's
want to show
true.
up and do the work. They don't want to organize. They don't want to galvanize. They don't want to ask their friends. They don't.
I think that if they didn't have a choice, and if that was what their heart wanted to do, that they would do it.
But Erica, I mean, we also have to remember, right? Let's take the civil rights movement as an example. All Black people were being marginalized, right? There was probably little to no Black people that were being marginalized. They were all suffering.
Jamal, I said that 10 minutes ago.
It took
You must be still at work.
it took a
They
handful.
would have somewhere to go.
It took a
as many.
handful
Yeah, they
of
would.
Black
They
people to begin that movement. It was all Black people didn't wake up and say, you know what, this is some bullshit. All Black people didn't do that.
Mhm.
You need a catalyst to spark something in people,
I
right?
agree.
So I do think there is value in there being a specific place to motivate people to do things that they should be doing, whether that's the toy drives, whether that's the food banks.
I don't disagree. I don't
Right,
disagree.
because
I'm just
anybody
saying
can
it
do a toy
doesn't have
drive.
to be a
Everybody does it.
organized-
Yeah.
I'm saying it doesn't have to be a religious institution.
It doesn't
That's
have
my
to be.
point.
No. I agree
It
with
has
that.
to be a group of people who want to. That's like saying that nonprofits wouldn't exist if churches weren't here. I don't think that that's true.
A lot of nonprofits are rooted in.
I don't know the
churches.
history well enough to be able to respond.
That's like saying nonprofits wouldn't exist if there were no churches.
No,
and I don't think
not that it
that's the
wouldn't
truth.
exist. I'll tell you this: as
And I
somebody
don't
that's
think
worked
that's
in
the truth.
nonprofits for almost my whole professional career, every one of I worked at, besides one, has some roots and beginnings in the church.
Mm.
Every one of them, even the international one.
Mm.
They might not be specifically tied to it now, but if you look back at the history
So
of it,
they birthed out of a
yes.
Yeah, I get what you're
But
saying.
to Erica's point, and to counter Aaron just a little bit, because I'm having so much fun
Aaron said
arguing
we
with y'all right now.
Aaron said we done marching. God damn it! I feel you, Aaron.
I
we
don't
don't
want
have
to
to
march
march.
either, but we need to do something.
I mean, our school,
Boycotts.
we could do
We
boycotts.
ain't
We
even,
could
even doing that right.
we could actually, right? I think Erica posted the other day about how curriculums are being restructured because of the administration. Right?
I think
We
so,
could
maybe.
ban.
I'll be
We talking
doing
about
whatever.
Toledo, and they were taking some
Oh yeah,
classes
that was
out.
today.
The Black church or Black organizations, including the Greeks, could put together some initiatives to help support the schools so that they don't have to do that, right? Because really, the only
Mhm.
reason they're doing that is because they're losing their
Federal
funding,
funding.
right?
Yep.
There can be some initiatives that could be
Reactionary.
pulled together to, and that's not even marching, right? That's just Black people coming together to say we're not gonna let our schools succumb to this and fail.
Yeah, I'm really confused about why y'all letting y'all, because I ain't go to one. Why y'all letting HBCUs fall on the sword?
Now, nigga, you just said
to-
they can't read.
I said why they're letting they generally are letting
You ain't Black?
HBCUs fall on the sword.
Just because you ain't go to one,
Because
you can't support
I'm not
HBCUs.
talking
None of
about
us went to
y'all. Talking
HBCUs.
about y'all.
I'm so-
You know I'm talking about y'all Greeks.
Oh, that. I didn't go to HBCU either, but I got they back with them.
No, I'm just saying, like, if you went to a HBCU, if I went to a HBCU, I don't know that I would be able to stand by and watch them fall on the sword to an administration that is doing what it's doing.
Yeah.
So, and that's where I question movement. Like, where are the movements?
But see, that is why
And where are the churches to
that's
bring
why
it
you
back? Where are the
need-
churches and where are the
you need the
movements?
spark. You need somebody who's going to create the spark.
But he said that we got the spark because we got churches.
Well, they need some sparks. Shit.
I said they've been the spark, and
We
they
need
can
we
be,
need another
and
spark.
they can be the spark.
We got churches.
They can be the spark. If I'm waiting on you on 20 of y'all to meet me on 70 at the college girl to do something,
Let's
I'll be
do
waiting
it.
all day.
I'll be there.
That's 2 of us.
What are we doing? I got questions. What are we doing? I may come, I may not. It's down the street from my house.
There you go. There you go. That's 2 of us. Hold
That's
on. I do.
crazy.
So speaking of churches and movements and all the good stuff, do we think that churches, mosques, temples are open enough with their finances and clear about where that money goes?
Where's Toya at? Because she can answer this question.
No,
No.
no,
They don't have to be, though.
No.
They're not required to be.
no.
Are they not?
Yeah, they're supposed to.
Are
but
they?
I don't think they are. I don't think they
Wait,
are.
why do they have to be?
Well, they used to have to be. Then,
If you're
I don't
that
know the
man-
tax law, so
then
I'm
that
just,
man
you're-
said they didn't have
yeah,
to be.
if
So
you're fi-
then
yeah,
now they
exactly.
don't have to be.
if you're even morally, if my 10th tithing is supporting this, and every month we got a roof fund that I'm pulling into, and the roof ain't been fixed in 5 years, where the money going?
It's in case the roof.
No.
You gotta have in case of
No.
money.
It's been a bucket in the corner for 5 years with that water dripping in it, and the roof ain't been fixed. But every week I put in money in the roof fund.
Why they wait 5 years to ask that question?
They've been asking for 5 years, is what I'm saying, and the roof don't never get fixed.
And yet they keep donating to the roof fund. Yeah, I would have stopped that a long time
I
ago.
do not give to capital campaigns for churches. When I was in church, I stopped tithing
Oh.
because what? I
Wow.
gave an offering. I
Mhm.
contributed to the body, but you're not gonna dictate what I'm supposed to give, because that's not Bible. That y'all making stuff up.
10% is a healthy
That's
Healthy amount.
Hey,
Depending on what you do.
when I plant a
don't matter.
crop,
Oh, fair.
I
If
will
I had
bring
$100,
y'all
I had to give you 10.
10%.
That shit would hurt.
Yeah.
When
No,
I
you're
plant
fair.
a crop, I will bring y'all 10% of my harvest. However,
Here she go with the exact words. You planted a crop and work every day, and your
No,
harvest is your
I don't.
paycheck.
I don't believe that the New Testament requires a tithe. I believe that we need to give to the body of Christ to keep the lights on and keep the roof fixed.
Pastor
and
got to eat.
Pastor got to
He
eat.
can get a
don't. I
job.
believe.
Man, I'm a big
I
believer.
believe in pastors' offerings. I believe that pastoring is not a full-time job until it's a full-time job.
Facts.
I don't believe that
It can
church
be.
pastors or smaller churches should be full-time pastors, because they are putting the burden of their household on the body of Christ. But I believe that once you have a body of believers big enough for you to need to be a full-time pastor, then you should be, and that you should be taken care of. And how you're taken care of should be a representation of what your body, the body of your business looks like, right? And I don't say business meaning the people are business. I say business meaning, if a lot of these pastors, y'all are taking, they have a salary from the church, but they also have books, they have appearances, they have speaking fees, they have all these other things. So we like, oh, you taking the church money and getting a Mercedes. He took his book money and got a Mercedes. And why he couldnn't do that? He wrote a book.
Some of them do be taking the church.
I'm not, but
Driving that Bentley.
My point is,
I know
I
what you're
believe that the body of believers should take care of the head of the house. I believe that. I will never talk about pastors and what they make and all that stuff unless the church is falling apart and the roof ain't fixed and
Or they lock you in and say I need service.
Yeah, I need my $40,000.
Do y'all want to? Because I want to
No, I don't
explain
want-
that.
you
I
wanna
really would
explain
like
it?
to explain it.
You want to
I
explain
really
it?
would like to explain it. I really would like to explain it. We talk about the Marvin Sapp incident, correct? Okay, let me explain it. I didn't watch the whole video. I didn't watch the whole video, but I am familiar with the practice of churches. Dang. I am familiar with the practice of churches closing their doors during offering. Okay. This is rooted in some old stuff, right? Back in the day, we used to pass a collection plate, right? Well, a lot of churches still do, but some churches don't anymore. Some churches just do scan, digital, right? So if you're passing a collection plate and everybody gets up and starts moving around, how do you follow the plate? You don't know where it went. People get up, they block it. The ushers can't see where it went. Now people dipping their hand in the bucket. And so it's a practice to keep people from stealing. That's what it's rooted in. Okay. It's rooted in keeping people from stealing during offering time.
Now ties into this thing.
His thing is respect what's happening in this moment. If I am, first of all, if you go to black church, you know we don't walk during offering. Period. There is no walking during offering.
Sure.
So if you walking during offering, it better be an emergency, right? So his whole thing, I don't think his thing with the close the doors was meant to trap people in and make them give. It was about order. Just wait till we're done. If you can't wait till okay, so I've been in churches where they said close the doors, and I got up and left because I couldn't wait. I'm finna go. I gotta use the bathroom. Open this door.
So if he said,
I believe it's about order.
Order.
It's about order.
But the dollar amount ties at the end by when we get open the doors back.
I
was waiting for to explain that.
Okay. So I was told that this was at a convention. It was at a large church convention. It is fairly common practice at church conventions, if you ever been to one, that they have a goal that they need to meet in order to pay for the things that happened over that weekend. So the dollar amount, it is not uncommon. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I said I was going to explain it.
Okay.
The dollar amount is tied to the offering amount is tied to what they need to cover the expenses. Typically, because there are exceptions to every rule. The dollar amount is somebody that plan church conferences. The dollar amount is typically tied to what they need to meet the expenses for the event. If you throw it
Ain't
to
that what registration for?
sometimes
Man, you
you
in my
don't
brain.
meet it. Sometimes you don't meet it during the registration.
Okay.
So you need to make it up during offering. So you'll say, especially at a large church conference convention type of situation, that was not his home church. That was not his parishioners. That was a conference. And so when you are in those conference environments, there are many times where they may be like, oh, we need to meet, we need to make goal. We trying to reach this month, this amount of money. Everybody give me $40. You ain't got the $40, you sit there and mind your business. I ain't got $40 to give you, partner. So y'all can sit here and take offering till 10 o'clock. But when I gotta go to the bathroom, I'm gonna get up and go to the bathroom. Like no one can control what you do. He's asking for order. And then me and Danny were laughing because Danny, knowing a heartbeat, I'd be like, I ain't got time for this. I'm gonna go. Open the door. Like nobody can control you in that way. So
I'm gonna do this at my next
it's about
What you
gala.
gonna do?
it's about
My next
order.
gala.
They were
Lock
trying
the
to
doors.
We not at 1.2
he didn't
million
say
yet.
lock the doors.
Lock
He
them
said
doors.
close them.
Close and lock them.
He said
barricade them like he was.
We in a lock here.
And again, I
They
wasn't
call me Crazy
justifying.
Joe. Now they call me Batman. He was like he locked the doors like Joe Clark.
Justifying. I'm
Remember that?
explaining.
Yes,
That's
All
all.
right, you
Just
look
explain.
confused before a second.
I was thinking about something else. I saw lean on
Just
me.
explain.
I went to
not
lean on me.
justifying.
Shit.
She did.
I don't think they should do that, but I'm telling you why
All right.
they do it.
We got off the rails. I was saying that, but that was
Yeah,
cool.
all
All
right,
right.
always do.
So that's what we do. All right, we are at time before Jay gives me the signal. We started on time. We're gonna end on time today.
This
I
Hey.
don't remember the last time we did this. Come on now.
Never.
because y'all talking about something. We're talking about a religious topic.
No. Usually we usually end at 1 hour and 20, but we usually start so late because we're doing other things.
This is true. All right.
We go off on this all night.
I honestly could. This is one of my favorite rights.
This makes a lot of sense. I know more about you, Eric. This makes a lot of sense.
I love this.
You basically
subject.
a PK kid.
I am not a PK.
Basically, though. You
not
PK adjacent.
I would say adjacent. PK adjacent.
That explains a whole lot.
Shut up. Because I know what you put. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Jesus Christ.
I think everybody
foot.
I think everybody is.
Kiss my
Sean,
foot.
what's your final thoughts? What you thinking?
I'm on vacation mode. My brain is already on the plane to Greece.
That's right. You leaving to Greece tomorrow.
No, I will say I one of my favorite things about this podcast, I love talking to people about various topics. And I didn't think we were ever gonna get to this topic. So I'm really excited we did. And I did learn a lot about Erica that I did not know. I don't know if it makes me I feel a little closer to you now. But I
your heart healed?
Oh no, it's still pierced.
Oh my
still
God.
pierced.
Oh my God.
No, I'm glad we did circle around to this, and I'm glad we had two people that could talk about this passionately but politely.
Yeah.
And have difference of opinions but respect for the conversation.
For sure.
Yeah. Hey, in his own podcast, people say all we do is talk about relationship stuff. Falsehood.
Who said that?
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
I can see they say we got too many drafts. I can see that, but
first of all, it's time for another draft.
Oh, I got an idea.
What?
We did the songs that. How do we word it? Songs that define the 80s. We have not done the 90s.
We haven't. So hey, though, we next week Sean is off. Oh, I'm sorry. Before I close, Erica, any final thoughts? Are you good?
Thank you for hanging out.
Thank you for hanging out with us. Appreciate
I said everything I had to say.
Cool, Fred. Thank you. Thank you for coming, stopping in. We appreciate you, brother. We will have you back. I'll say this and close to the topic. I think there is, when we first talked about this, we said faith or fraud, right? And I think
yes and yes.
Yes and yes. Yeah, yes and yes.
Both and.
Right. But I think what we've rooted here at the source is that your faith is yours, and that you don't necessarily need anybody else to lead you in that faith.
Yep.
Maybe you needed somebody to kind of open some doors and point you some directions, whatever. Your faith is your own, whether you have it or you don't. Right. So Fred was saying that he hasn't seen anything scientific, any signs. Christianity was stolen from, us and bastardized and all that good stuff. He didn't say that. I'm saying that. But no matter what you believe, what you believe in, how you believe in, how you praise, how you don't. At the end of the day, we all got to have faith in somebody, even if it's ourselves.
Yep.
So, walk in that. Next week, it's going to be me and the fellas. No Sean. She's going to be on vacation.
Oh, no, I'm going to pop in.
You
Me
know
too.
you're going to be here.
Me
True.
too.
So,
I know how to
be-
get in the.
it's
I know
gonna
how to
be-
get on.
It's gonna be the guys and eat.
me and the fellas going to come on, and we're going to talk about some of the things that only guys talk about in the barbershop. We're going to let you in on it right here on the End Zone.
Like is Michael Jordan really
I'm
the
coming.
GOAT?
Okay.
No.
Can I say one more thing? I'm sorry, I forgot.
Yes.
I forgot. Oh, he talked about science and he hasn't seen any evidence of Christianity. I believe that science explains God. It does not disprove God. And so that's something that we can talk about on another
That's
podcast.
That's an interest. That's a whole nother show.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a whole other show.
It's another show.
So to answer your question, Sean, no, we're not gonna argue about LeBron and Jordan.
I'm
This,
just saying that's
we
what
gonna-
y'all normally talk about.
That's not. How do you know you ain't in the barbershop?
I have been in the
Enough.
barbershop.
Yeah.
I'll be in the barbershop too.
You ain't in the barbershop enough. No, we
I'll
gonna
be in
talk
the barbershop.
when y'all ain't around.
Did y'all not see my post where I had no hair?
When
I
la-
was in the barbershop.
Yeah. But we changed the conversation.
I'll be in the barbershop.
When the ladies around. When the ladies are around.
Live.
Conversation. We go. One of the topics is gonna be: is head a requirement in sexual relationships?
Why am I? I'm definitely coming in. I don't give
Yeah.
a fuck
It
about.
absolutely is.
I don't give a fuck about being in Greece. It'll be at 9:00 at night. I'm
It
coming.
is. It absolutely is. What do you mean?
Now, some men will disagree.
Huh, what's
they
wrong
don't.
with
That
them?
they don't necessarily need head. To,
What's
I
wrong with
actually
them?
knew a guy who preferred not to get it.
Are we still on?
Yes, we
are.
are.
Oh, I'm so glad I asked.
So on that note, I want to hear what she got to say. We
Nope.
will talk to y'all same bad time, same bad channel next week. Just me and the fellas chopping it up. See y'all then.
In the Zone podcast. 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 In the Zone.